Good afternoon.
Hello.
I hear you're an all-round-the-year swimmer.
Yeah, I go in every day.
Every day?
Yeah, pretty well. I've been in, the last day I missed was Christmas Day 2013.
Okay.
Because I think it's a bit of an addiction, really.
Really?
I when it's rough, I go down to a place called Cove, where there's a little bit of a seawall that protects you.
Yes.
But normally I swim at the Rockstone, which is about about 2 or 3 miles, half a mile down the road. Yeah, quite far it is. It's just around the corner here, between Dawlish and Dawlish Warren.
Right.
And that's convenient for me, so you can park there. But so when it gets really rough, you can't go in there. The sea breaks over the sea wall. It's dangerous to walk across the bridge or even along the sea wall. So obviously going into the sea is an impossibility. So then I go down to the boat cove, where there's a little bit of a breakwater that sticks out, which stops you from getting washed away. But it's still quite rough, even in the protected areas when the sea's really right. It's when it comes in from the easterly that we get the problems. Generally, when it's a westerly, it's okay. I mean, today it's not too bad, but when it blows in from the easterly, obviously you can get it breaking right over the seawall. It becomes quite dangerous then.
And are you, when you say dangerous, are you happy to go out with it dangerous?
Yeah. I'm used to it now. I always do a risk assessment before I go in. I mean, the things like you've got to watch the Longshore currents, because they can carry you along to somewhere you can't get out. There's quite a strong current here today, actually.
Yes.
It's almost too strong to swim against. And if you didn't know what you're doing, you could get swept down somewhere down the coast where there are rocks, or there are breakwaters, or there are groins and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then you can't get out, so you've got to know what the currents are doing. Very often when it's a bit rough, there's detritus on the water, and you can actually watch how the detritus is moving.
Yeah.
It gives you a guide as to where the currents are. But you don't get many rip currents down here because it's a fairly flat seabed.
Right.
So you can get them by where the groins stick out, where the sea wall pokes out, particularly in Dawlish main beach. There's a breakwater that sticks out there by the railway station.
Yeah.
And you can see if you've got a southerly current blowing in through there, or a southerly wind, you can get a longshore drift then that blows in and then forms a rip by where the breakwater runs out.
So you know all along this part of the coast.
Pretty well, yeah. And you've got to know where the groins are, because when the tide's in, the groins are submerged, and of course you hit one of those, you can get some quite nasty cuts. In fact, you could kill yourself on one of those if it was really rough. So you have to know where all the underwater obstructions are, the rocks and the groins, particularly the old groins where they've been washed away, and there's just a little post sticking up because they are old girders. They're very rough, they're very hard, and they can injure you quite severely.
I should think so.
But I say you always need to do a risk assessment before you go, even this time of year, really, because you can get quite a strong longshore drift, which can be quite dangerous.
Yeah.
But so it's one or two interesting things I've seen down here. I've swam with a seal on one occasion, which was quite interesting. They filmed that and stuck that on the BBC. So I was interviewed by the BBC on that occasion. On one occasion I saw a seagull swimming along beside me, and he was swimming along about a yard to my right. Then he took off and flew along just about this sort of level, just above my head level. Then he swooped down and pecked me on the nose. So I think he was probably conditioned to think I had an ice cream in my mouth or something. And then of course you get a few jellyfish down here.
Really?
At the moment there's some quite big ones. They're called barrel jellyfish, but they're not harmful at all. They don't sting at all. But a while back we had an influx of Portuguese man-of-war, and they can be quite painful if they sting you. In fact, there was one that was quite interesting, because normally they've got a kind of sail on the back, which is a kind of pink coloured sail.
Yeah.
But this one was just more like a bottle shape.
Yeah.
It could have been a floating bottle. So I picked it up and had a look, and on the back end there were some tentacles hanging down. So I tried one of them. It stung me.
Oh no!
So actually they were Portuguese man-of-war, but they do have different shapes. So it can be quite interesting to see the different types of marine life you get here.
And I noticed you haven't got any protection. You're just in your swimming trunks.
Yeah. Well, this is why
and nothing on your feet. No wetsuit. So doesn't that affect you? Do you not get more cold?
Well, no, because I started in August. It was about August 2003. So my wife died, and I was taking the children to school every morning, and I thought, well, hang on, there's a wasted resource there. There's the sea. So I started swimming every day. After I was driving back from taking the children to school, and I just kept going, and it became, I think, it became a bit addictive.
Yeah.
The first winter, it was very cold, and I found that if I'd been in for 20 minutes or so, which is about how long I'd stay in the winter, 20 to 25 minutes, my hands were getting quite cold, and I couldn't actually turn the key in the lock in the car and get into the car. Once I was in the car, it's okay, but in the winter it takes a long time to warm up. If you stay in the water for, say, 25 minutes, half an hour, even if I go back and have a warm bath, I've still taken out half an hour or so just to warm up. And if I don't have a hot bath, it can leave me cold for a couple of hours afterwards. So you've got to factor in that kind of recovery period in the winter. But of course in the summer it's glorious. You can lay on the beach and warm up, and it's beautiful, read the newspaper and so forth. So it's very variable depending on the season. And of course, you know, it depends a lot on the state of the sea. So when it's really rough, then it can be quite dodgy going in, and you've got to pick your spot very carefully. In fact, on one occasion, when the sea walls washed away in February 2014, I was prevented from going down to Boat Cove by the engineers that were working there. I think it's Amy or somebody was working, and some guy came on and said, you can't go in here. And so I had then to go into a place called Cove, which is a little bit further along.
I know that one, the other side of Dawlish.
That's right, yeah. And that was a little bit dodgy because there you don't have the protection. Although it wasn't too bad. Once you get in, usually, particularly where the beach is steeper, when you get in, the breakers break fairly close to the shore. So once you get out through the breakers, then you're in the kind of undulating water, which is a lot easier to swim in, a lot safer, provided you can get through the breakers. I mean, here, because it's a long flat beach, the breakers break further out. You can see here now there's quite a long distance before the breakers form, and that can be more difficult when it's rough. I mean, obviously the surfers go in, and it's it's quite okay if you know what you're doing and you've got the correct equipment. But when it's rough, where I normally swim at the Rockstone, when the tide's high, you've got a steeper beach and the waves break close to the shore. So once you get through the breakers, you're okay. But then you do have to watch the Longshore drifts, because if the breakers are big and you're trying to get on shore, you can't get on shore so easily. They can smack you from behind and throw you into things. And then if you get carried on the beach, you can be in a pretty dangerous situation, because you get up to a groin or a rock face or something where you can't get out, then you can be in big trouble. So you have to, when you go in,
you're experienced, aren't you?
When you go in, you have to feel the current on your legs as you get into shallow water. And that gives you an idea which way, and you can often see which way the water's running. Particularly on the backflow, as it's running back into the undertow sort of thing. And that gives you a good guide as to which way the water's moving. And then as soon as you get in, you can get a feel for it. And if it's pulling you the wrong way, you have to get out fairly quickly, because you can get carried along to a dangerous spot where you can't get out. If it's pulling you the right way, it's not so bad. Then provided you're onto a safe beach for the rest of your trajectory, so to speak.
But you must be very fit.
Well, not too bad. I actually cycle down here at the moment, which helps a little bit. But I'm not as fit as I'd like to be. I'm still a bit overweight, but it helps. Definitely. But I think it's an addiction. I think it's either physical or psychological addiction, because I know I find if I don't go in, I feel pretty rough. You know, and it's it's kind of therapeutic, I think. Although at times, of course, it's a bit dodgy, particularly in the winter when it's really cold and wet and miserable and it's gloomy and horrible. Walking down here, sometimes I wonder why I do it. But after I've been in, I usually feel a lot better. So it's
the sea water is so good for you, isn't it?
It is, I think the sea air, and also I think it's the noise as well. I've got a suspicion that it reminds one of being in the womb or something, because I think the sound of the sea is very soothing. So even just being by the sea is good. And to actually go in, I think it's partly the challenge, but also it's the kind of way it stimulates the body. They do say a cold shower is very therapeutic. And I think probably the same applies to swimming in the sea. I think it's a physical therapy, and of course it's helpful psychologically as well. So it's I think it's almost an addiction. Whether it's a psychological addiction or a physical addiction, I'm not quite sure, but it's certainly there must be some sort of force that makes one go and do it, because it's not, at times it's not very pleasant. And the prospect of going down is sometimes quite daunting. But so I've done it every day pretty well for about sort of 15 years or so.
It's a long time.
And certainly the last day I missed was Christmas Day 2013. I had to go for a meal with the in-laws, and I didn't get round to going swimming. But since then I've been there every day. And it does keep you fairly fit and healthy, I think.
It would do.
Because I haven't had any sort of severe colds or anything particularly nasty.
Wow.
But I have cut myself a few times getting in and out.
Yeah.
And I've caught a couple of these groins where you get the uprights sticking out of the water. If you get caught on one of those, it can give you a very nasty injury.
So you've got to be careful.
So you've got to be very careful. And of course, if when you come out, if the waves are big, they can throw you over. Luckily, I've never sort of hit anything. But if you were up against a wall or anywhere like that, you could be in trouble.
How long do you normally go in for at a time?
This time of year, about half an hour.
Yeah.
In the winter, usually about 20-25 minutes.
Yeah.
But another thing you've got to watch, actually, if you're swimming by the sea wall, where I swim down by the Rockstone, there's the old railway line, or the new railway line as it is now, but the old sea wall. And if there's tides in and you're swimming towards the sea wall and it's a little bit rough, you can get a strong back current, which makes it almost impossible to swim up to the sea wall.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, you'd think you get thrown against the sea wall by the waves. But very often the backflow will hold you away.
Yeah.
And obviously when it's very, very rough, I think if you get lifted up and thrown against the seawall and mangled up. But when it's a bit like this, or a little bit rougher than this, you can get a backflow from the seawall, which prevents you swimming it against it, and therefore you can be swimming like a video about 3 yards away from the rocks or from the seawall, unable to get out. And I've been caught a couple of times with that situation. So
that could be frightening, can't it?
Well, yeah. Because the problem is that when you're swimming back in again, it's usually when you're tired and you're cold, particularly in the winter, you can get quite cold and your muscles start to close down a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's so you want, if provided you know what you're doing, it's not too dangerous. But there's always some element of danger, which may be part of the reason you do it.
Part of the excitement, maybe.
Yeah.
And what is your name, please?
David Gates, JTS, as in Communal Garden.
Yeah.
Pre-Communal Garden, yeah.
So a lot of people here in Dawlish, Teignmouth, Dawlish Warren, they must know you.
Yeah, I think I've got a bit of I think they call me Dippy Dave or Dipper Dave or something. It's the latest.
One of the characters.
Yeah, I've been called Mad Dave and all sorts of other things. But, It's exactly how widespread it is, I don't know. But I was on Spotlight a little while back. And they gave me a little short interview there, which was a little bit bizarre. But that was the day I was caught swimming with a seal. So I went in for my normal swim at the Rockstone. This was at Boat Cove. And there was a seal swimming around and poked his head up. Because I've come across seals quite often out here. Very often you feel them against your feet. Your feet touch on you, you think it's something like furry. That's a bit strange. What's that? Next minute a head pops up in front of you and there's a seal giving you once over.
Wow.
And they sometimes swim. There was one that swam around and actually followed me into the shore when it's a bit rough and a bit frothy. And I think he was almost like checking if I was all right. It was quite interesting. But they're quite interesting creatures. I believe they probably could bite you if you wanted to disturb them.
They've got to protect themselves.
I think if they were concerned about their pups or whatever,
definitely.
They might possisly attack you then. But I've never had any trouble with them. And they've got such a beguiling face, very big kind eyes and so forth. So they're quite interesting creatures to swim with.
Well, it was wonderful meeting you. And I hope you continue every day going for your swim.
Well, hopefully, yeah.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah.